And now, part two.
Yes. I was gonna say, I also wish they would fix the taunting.
Taunting?
Yes.
What's wrong with the taunting?
I want, if you taunt once, I don't want, if you taunt straight afterwards, I don't want it to fucking give you a boost in momentum so people can just run around and exploit the fact they're faster and taunt.
Marcus.
It's not just Marcus, other people do it online and stuff. Which, that's a really cheap, lazy way of playing it. It ruins the game because it means, well, what the fuck? You know what I mean? You're not actually fighting, you're just running around and taunting.
Mm.
Reduce that.
Yes and no. I can agree with like we've discussed before. I can kind of agree with the having a quote cooldown unquote on building up momentum via taunt. But at the same time, the more that I think about it, the way I have my character set up, and I feel it every time I fucking play the game, because my strike and grapple power isn't that high. It's directly linked to my momentum, so therefore because it's not that high, I don't build as much momentum doing moves. What I build momentum off of is doing submission moves, but they're harder to pull off. And I have my charisma up high. So basically the way I have my character designed is to build momentum, I only really have two options. Taunting and doing submissions. So by adding in the system where there's a cooldown on building up momentum for taunting, that kind of screws someone like me who's built their character to be a taunting machine, to take advantage of the fans. I build up momentum by playing to the fans. Now,
No,
one way to
you
offset
exploit the
that,
game.
no,
Yeah, I think the point that Mo's trying to make is that that is in itself a broken, cheap way to play the game.
yeah, but I have no other way of building up momentum because my power is so weak. Whereas Mole builds up his momentum by beating my facing because his power is up, so therefore he builds
But,
momentum faster by beating my facing. Now, what
but
I
it
was
has
gonna
nothing.
say is that to offset that, what they could do is, okay, maybe you have that cooldown on it, have it give you more momentum than it does now per time you taunt, so it'll actually build momentum, but you can't just fucking spam that shit.
See, the way I do it is have it only give you momentum once, like the old one of the ECW thing where you did it once and and you'd go with the crowd, yeah, and it gives you momentum. Otherwise, the taunts are just there to mock your opponent. Because at the end of the day, it's a wrestling game. It's not a taunt finish game.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. And the thing is, the power has nothing to do with your ability to build momentum. There's a specific stat in there that's to do with that. I can't remember if it's charisma or which one it is.
Charisma.
That's charisma. That if you're having problems with building your momentum, then turn your charisma all the way up, and you won't have that problem anymore. Because it has nothing
No,
to do with
yes
your
it is.
power. It's
You just completely gymmed everything I said. My charisma is nearly maxed out. What charisma does and what it's always done is it increases not only the rate at which you build momentum, but it also, more importantly, increases the momentum that you get when you taunt. Whereas your strength, your attack power, your grapple, and your submission and your strike, those are also directly related to building momentum because the more damage you do with a specific move, the more momentum you gain from doing that move. Because my power is lower than you guys, whenever I do a standard grapple or a strike, I get a less of a momentum boost than you guys do. If I want to try to match you for momentum, I have to somehow figure out a way to pull out submissions left and right, which I can't do until I've sufficiently hurt you enough because I can't consistently do submission moves until you're sufficiently hurt. The
which
only
I
other
would
option
think.
I have of building momentum is to taunt, because that's how I've built my character, because I have a high charisma, aka taking advantage of the fans.
Yeah,
Which,
but
if I can just say for the record, it means that you've clearly built a broken, ineffective character. I'm sorry.
yeah,
That's why any of these guys you look at, if you look at anybody of these wrestlers that are the charisma machines that play to the crowd, a lot of these kind of guys, even if you got like John Cena, in John Cena's case, it's still different. But if for guys like, I mean, look at these guys like Daniel Bryan or CM Punk or Shawn Michaels, are playing in the crowd. And even if you're specifically looking at, let's say, Daniel Bryan or Alberto Del Rio or Chris Jericho for that matter, or He Who Shall Not Be Named, any of those guys, yes, they were submission specialists, but the thing is, they were also technicians because they also busted out suplexes and shit left and right. That's why they were able to use those to really get the match going and damage their opponent, and then they applied the submission holds. They weren't just torquing and submissions. And I think that's an issue with your characters. You've built yourself with all submission holds and no attacks, and I think you need to balance it out. That's why, for example, with my character James Phoenix, I'm a high flyer, yes, but I'm not. My moveset is not entirely hurricanranas and fucking like spin around DDTs and flying off top rope shit. I also have a variety of suplexes in there because those do damage and don't build up my meter. So I can then, when I start launching into my high fly stuff, I can take that directly into my SIGs or finishers without having to worry about them basically doing the high flying stuff, which does very little damage.
Yep. In fact, in my opinion, most of the submission experts in wrestling history have usually been boring characters that don't play up to the crowd, like Benoit or Taz.
Who? Sorry, that's a
Taz,
little
he's a
late.
guy that used to
I
comment
know.
on SmackDown.
I know. I was a little late with that.
Which, if I was
know,
going to
that's
build
why I
it that way,
And who
it'd
now
be
comments
fine.
on that other show that should not be named.
But then again, I'm not your standard submission expert. Like I said, I built my character a specific way, and I don't basically by doing it the way you want it to do it basically removes one strategy of playing, one way to build a character, which I don't agree with. Limiting it, yes, I could see how it'd be exploitive. In fact, I know it'd be exploitive the way you did, like you said, run around and taunt. Okay, yeah, I kind of agree with you. Take it out completely? No, I completely heartily disagree with that. That's why I said, man, middle ground. Give it a cooldown so you can't just do it all the time.
Yeah, but
I
you
get
could
it.
cool down with a big boost. So you do it once, and like say 5 minutes later, you do it again. Boom, half your whole momentum's filled, which means all you've got to do is just run around and wait for the cooldown to come off.
Yeah, it would kind of basically do the same thing. Whereas, yeah, I agree with the cooldown, but I think maybe up it just a little bit. But I had the cooldown, and I agree with that. But it still leads back to the same thing of, let me ask you: if you're watching Monday Night Raw, any point in history, how many guys do you see that spend their time running around the ring and throwing their arms up and doing taunts and then waiting to hit a finisher on a guy? You don't see that. The only time you see that is if it's some kind of ridiculous comedy match where they're trying to kill time, or if it's somebody who you know is going to get their ass kicked and they're trying to get away. Like, let's say you had a match where, let's say somebody's been trying to avoid, I don't know, let's say they've been trying to avoid face Randy Orton for a time. Let's say maybe it's Del Rio's been trying to avoid face Randy Orton for 2 months, and Orton's finally got him in a street fight. Then, yeah, Del Rio's going to run around, wait for Orton to turn for something. He's going to throw a taunt at the crowd, even though he's the heel, and then he's going to try to attack Orton, and Orton's going to still come back. That kind of thing works, but other than that, that doesn't happen. Wrestlers do not wrestle like that. Unfortunately, the game has given you the ability to create a non-viable wrestling technique, for lack of a better term, because of the way the game is designed. And unfortunately, that's most of the opinion. I think that it's broken. I see both ways. I get what you're saying too, and I can understand. I like taunting a lot too. I just don't depend on it. But yes, I understand what you're saying, and I think it's a matter of unfortunately, because of the way they built the game, they in effect created a non-existent method of wrestling that unfortunately people sometimes take advantage of in the game when it's not something that's done in real life. And I think one of the goals they've been trying to aim at with this game is realism, and unfortunately that kind of ruins the realism as much as Mole doing a 619 or me doing a choke slam or something.
Yes, but I also put to you, name one wrestler who only ever uses one taunt
Benoit.
in a match.
Benoit.
Oh, wow.
I think he would taunt more than once in
No,
a match.
you're right. They used.
But
Yes,
my
you're
point
right. I
is
agree.
this. No. My point is, because if you take a wrestler, especially any modern day wrestler, whenever they use a taunt in the match, and I defy you to find me someone who uses only one taunt per match. Every time they use a taunt in the match, they get quote unquote momentum because it always riles up the crowd, be they face or heel. So I think if you limit it to only one taunt, only one taunt of all your taunts gives you momentum, I think that's unrealistic.
See, it.
No,
And
but
it's
I'm saying.
usually the quote unquote wake up taunt that gives them the momentum, which by going by game mechanics kind of doesn't work because you can't even use the wake up taunt until you've got full momentum.
Right, and I
I
understand your
was,
point, but
I
sorry,
was
Mo, go
saying,
ahead.
I was saying I wasn't targeting Marcus with that. That was the point. I said to you I wasn't targeting Marcus with that because to
Ah,
Marcus's credit, when we have our matchups, he still, while he does run around and taunt, he still at least wrestles a bit. I've played, like I said, I played online with the tag matchups, and I had it where one partner was spamming the push down, while the other one constantly taunted to get his finish up and finish up, doom. Then the other one would push me while the other one started to taunt.
Right.
Which I was like, yeah, that's kind of broken.
Or playing a Hell in a Cell match where the high flyer is getting repeatedly pummeled and beat to shit by the super heavyweight because the technician keeps leaving the goddamn ring and taunting instead of wrestling the goddamn match.
No, again, I wasn't targeting Marcus. I was just saying the mechanic itself. I didn't agree
No, I
with.
know you weren't, but I
No,
am targeting Marcus.
Yes, but I'm not because it seems a little too heated. And
Fair enough.
but I was saying it seems basically, like I said, it seems broken because the way like I said, like in real life, yeah, you get them taunting in the matchup, but I'll put it to you, Marcus. They only taunt after they've done a move normally. You don't get them just run around and taunt. It'd be like let's say Callie does his taunt. It'll be after he's lifted the guy up and thrown him down on the floor to prove his strength. Which it's not really getting the crowd on his side. It's more like, ha, I'm better than you because I just did this.
Yeah, it'll be like Randy Orton will do that side uppercut to the face that he does, and then he'll throw the arms up like, yeah, look, I just took this dude down.
Yeah, which
Yeah, but I also
So then, wouldn't they have to increase the time that the AI or other player remains down, so they have to slow down the game so you can actually do that?
I'd like them to do that.
That would be helpful.
I'd like a
I mean,
slower paced game instead of the arcadey stuff.
Well, I agree. I think it's more a matter of the problem with the matches is unfortunately, and that needs to happen sometimes. I think that would be really beneficial in future games if we're on the topic. Matches need to have the ability to ebb and flow in terms of speed and momentum of the match in and of
They do.
itself. And that's part of the problem is that unfortunately it's one pace straight through no matter what you're doing. Whereas there could be certain instances where let's say if I think maybe let's say you start off the match and you guys are going it's kind of fast paced, you're going at each other, you throw moves back and forth. Then maybe after 5 minutes or so, or when one or both opponents gets to a certain body damage, the match inherently slows down. The guys can't move quite as fast, and it changes up your moveset a little bit, so you have to use holds or whatever, or depending on what you are, it could change that based on who's in the matchup and the damage of the players and what people do. Like maybe if you do a comeback, that picks the pace back up or whatever. That sort of thing would make the matches more realistic because there'd be that ebb and flow that we see in real matches in WWE.
That's what they've tried to do with the different grapple system thing, which they introduced a couple of years back, and that's still here, just tweaked. But where you start off doing the holds and the grapples and stuff, the fast stuff, then near the end, when there's more damage, you're then doing the power stuff. That was the reason, but yeah, I agree it could be more. But that was just that one little bit of gameplay. There was more gameplay stuff that needs fixing. There's a lot of stuff that needs fixing in this game. Like I don't know, the OMGs need weighting properly.
Yep. Creative moves need weighting properly.
Yep.
And I will be pissed if they don't fix the weight issue by the time they bring out create a submission move, because I'll be down if I create a submission move that has no chance of submitting someone. Fuck that.
Yep. Which it's still equally bad now, but yes.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Because it's a move that won't pin them.
But that's what I'm saying. They need to fix the weight issue before that
Yeah.
happens. Otherwise, there's no
Yeah.
point in giving you a struggle submission or breaking point submission, a creative breaking point submission, if you can't submit with them.
Yep. I also think they should bring in more better stuff for the weight stuff.
Like what?
Like for example, let's say there's let's say there's two different weight classes, and I hate to say that because it gives an advantage to my one, but also the disadvantage for me as well. But let's say there's two different weight classes in Royal Rumble. It should go back to, if I'm a super heavyweight, they should only be able to eliminate me like in real life with multiple people trying to eliminate me at once. Whereas the lighter ones can be thrown over the top rope with ease and stuff. Or at the same time, in ladder matches, which I've had to do myself by turning down my speed, I shouldn't be able to climb easily.
Mm-hmm. One thing they need to bring back, and that would play into like the weight stuff like that. They need to bring back a mechanic they had when they had the ultimate control grapples and stuff, whereby, like, say if I'm facing Jim and I'm next to the ropes and I pick him up to do my last ride, I should be able to powerbomb him over the top rope if I'm close enough.
Yeah, I like that. That was something that
Whereas if I tried to do that to Mole, I wouldn't be able to because he's super heavyweight. Unless I'm like Super Cena or something,
Yeah.
If we're gonna talk about realism, that a small technician like Marcus Shadow should be able to use a power arm to begin with, but
I think Jericho would like to have a word with you.
Yeah.
Where his signature was a triple power bomb.
this is true. This is true.
Yep, and like Marcus said, it'd be weighted, so he wouldn't be able to do it to me, but he'd be able to do it to you. Like Jericho wouldn't do a triple power bomb to Big Show, but he would do it to Ray.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in this game, he might.
Yeah, but they also need to but they need to balance it a bit as well. Like so, there need to be advantages to each weight class, which is not really at the moment. But there should be more. Like
Mhm.
for example, if James is a light heavyweight, I know he normally is heavyweight this year, but let's say James is a light heavyweight, he should have some extra abilities we can't. Like how about if he can do the John Morrison thing of running along the
The
apron,
parkour stuff.
yeah, they running along the oh no, what do you call it? The
Barricade.
barricade, that's the word. Running along the barricade and jumping off it, will be able to jump off more stuff. That'd be awesome.
Well, that's why they need to go back to the ability system they had before, where certain abilities were weight dependent. Because then he'd have the advantage of he could bounce off the ropes, and we can't.
Yep.
Could I have the ability, if I could throw it out of the rumble, to land on the barricade like Spider-Man and then walk on and throw myself back in the match?
Yeah, like that could be like an OMG moment. Like if you're being eliminated, but you have a finisher, triangle would pop up for an OMG, and you'd be able to save yourself by using a finisher. I think that'd be kind of awesome.
Yeah, he'd be able
That
to
would
save
be
it.
awesome.
It'd be harder for me to be eliminated, but because I need two people. But at the same time, if they used to have it where if you had used a finisher, you go punch you in the face. But I say if you've got a finisher and say James used it, okay, the John Morrison one's a little bit realistic, but he's a light heavyweight. How about if we see James fall down with just one foot and do the Shawn Michaels over the top rope?
That'd be kind of cool. You mean where he does the inverted thing?
Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
it should be harder for me to be eliminated because I need multiple people. But to balance it out, instead of using finishes, whatever, to balance it out, James's character should be harder to eliminate because he can do the Shawn Michaels pull up and stuff.
Can I get thrown out of the match, land on my hands, and then hand walk my way over to the stairs?
You know what
No,
they need
because
to do?
no, because you can't interact outside the Royal Rumble.
You know what they need to do, and it would play into more of the role play aspect of it? They need stat dependent maneuvers and stuff you can pull off in the middle of the match.
Yep.
So, like for instance, if you have like say if you have your grapple all the way up, you could, you'd have like power stuff that you could do. Like they bring back the instant breakout of submission thing that they had. What did they call it? Something lock, but lock picking ability. That's what they call it, lock pick. Where if your like grapple is all the way up, you'd be able to just outright power out of the move. If you pressed a button, you'd have like a one use ability each match where you could power out of it or something. Or like if with me, if I have my submission all the way up, I can't power out of a submission, but I can reverse the submission into one of my own.
Yep.
I think that'd be kind of cool. So that way you could have multiple different builds and they'd be viable builds, and each build would have their own strengths and weaknesses. Which it seems like what they're going for, because this year we did notice that with the builds, especially since they seem to be working properly now, there are strengths and weaknesses to each build that we have.
There is.
I think that would
There
add
is
further
strengths
immersion.
and weaknesses. Oh, there's strengths and weakness. Mainly, my one's more weaker this year ironically, because I think I turned my speed down more than I usually do, just because I was like, fuck it, I want to be slower. Which worked. I am slow, but I get you.
Personally, I think you should turn up your stamina a little bit to offset that.
No, because I like my weakness.
Okay.
It's a case that I just have to do without, because I've won with it.
Yeah.
It's just a case of
Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, like I said, it makes sense because I'm a fat, heavy guy, and it just means that, okay, I may not be able to catch you every single time, but when I do, you're dead.
Pretty much.
Yeah, it's the same thing with me. Like I can evade and go flying off things and get away real easily. But if I get caught and pummeled on for more, I can't get out of a submission to save my life.
Yep, and you cut out again.
And
Sorry.
yeah,
What I was saying was the same thing. Like On my end, where my weakness is, yeah, I can get away really easily and I can run around a lot in a fast momentum, but if I get caught, I can't take damage for more than a minute or two, or my body damage goes straight to red, and I can't get out of a submission and save my life.
You can get out of submissions. It was that one matchup that was glitched because I've put you in submission since, and you've just refused to
Well,
tap.
yeah, maybe like the first submission of the match, but after that, it's really hard for me to get out of submissions just because I take damage easily because I'm not, a power guy. So
You
I'm
don't have
a
your
small
defenses
guy. I
up,
take
right.
damage real easily. I don't have high defenses.
Which is viable. I mean, you're all offense,
Yeah.
which makes sense for a high flyer. You'd be all about dishing out damage as quickly as possible because high risk, high
Exactly.
reward.
Now, on a related note, what I'm going to next time I turn the game on, which will probably be when we're done with this podcast, I'm gonna physically go in and make myself a light heavyweight and adjust the stats accordingly and see how that does.
Cool.
Fair.
But that's something I'd like as well. Match types of advantages, like we mentioned with the Royal Rumble and stuff, like steel cage. If I'm a super heavyweight, I should not have the option to climb to the top. Because you don't really see Big Show on the top and then jump off. You never fucking see that. The ring would break. But yeah. But at the same
That
time,
could be a
because
slow MG moment.
yeah, but at the same time, because James is a lighter heavyweight, he shouldn't. The door shouldn't be an option. They should go back to the old rules where the door was for the heavyweights, the top over the top was for the other ones, and just turn the door thing off. Where I don't have to fucking Irish whip him and then get a crawling animation. It should be I try the door and I get the same type of thing of trying to open the door, like a meter to try and open the door, like climbing, and then he has to just run over and tackle me before, or he has to grab me and stop me doing it.
And that works. And the door opening could be the equivalent of getting the briefcase at the top of the ladder, where the more time somebody does it, the closer the door is to opening for whoever goes to it next.
Yeah, but I was saying you wouldn't be able to go through the door, Jim.
Well, yeah, I'm saying if we had a multi-man match, there was more than one
Like
super
if
heavyweight.
Crispy was in the match.
Like if it was like if it was you, Crispy, me, and Marcus over there, we were doing that. Then if Crispy went to it after you and you had already done it for a while, the door would open more easily for him. And he wouldn't have to do it as much.
So does that mean me as a heheavyweight, I'd have both options?
No, you'd be screwed.
Oh.
You can
You
just
wouldn't have
pin.
either option. You couldn't
You
win.
have pin and submit.
You
Yeah.
have to teleport.
I'm kidding, because pin and submit's easier.
You have to trick your opponent into performing a move to throw you through a cage wall to knock you out.
Yeah. No, you'd get the option for one of the other ones, whichever one. Like maybe possibly not. Maybe not both. Maybe you'd be able to pick which one in the options.
Yeah, like when the match starts out, like whichever one you try to do first, that'll be the only one you can do for the match.
Yeah. So it depends. Like okay, are you the heavyweight like Shelton Benjamin that would go over the top, or are you a heavyweight in the way that Bubba Ray and Mick Foley were, which
Yeah.
are more the fat guys? That'd
But
be
they
my.
would still go over the top because Foley doesn't care about, fucking himself up.
True, but he doesn't jump off the
Right.
top of the
Yeah, make it
the
something-
steel cages and stuff.
Yeah, make it something selectable in your create a wrestler thing. Kind of like how before they had match specialties. Instead, it'd be like cage win. Is it over the
Yeah.
top or through the door?
Yeah, and the last one I'd go to on gameplay before we went on,
Mhm.
I want more ruthless AI. I'd implement a system. Rick, did you ever play any racing games?
Yes.
Did you ever play that one with the blood tracking, or whatever they called it?
No, it doesn't.
Or
sound
DNA tracking, or whatever it was called. It was on one of the racing games. Can't remember which one, but it read how you raced. Like, okay, you race this aggressively as a rule, and you race this skillfully and stuff. So the computer now knows this, so it counteracts it by being as aggressive as you are to stop you.
So
I'd
basically,
like
you want
that.
an AI that learns.
Yes, and
Which
I
I
don't mean in a computer thing like, oh yeah, the console's always watching you. But
No.
I want it where basically it learns, like, okay, for example, it may learn, okay, Mole likes to get weapons, or Mole likes to constantly do brawling beatdowns. I'm going to try and avoid this. Or it reads what the style we like to do. Like, okay, this guy, like we mentioned with the taunt system, like Marcus likes to run man taunt. I'm going to constantly stay on him. Or Jim likes to jump off ropes and stuff. But that also goes into the second part with this. I want like 5-star wrestling, like the 5-star wrestling has from what they've shown off.
What's that?
Where like if Triple H is completely beaten down and he does a pedigree, I want the slow pedigree that takes absolutely everything out of him.
Mhm.
Or let's say I'm against you, Jim, and you in a triple and Richter in a triple threat match. Richter's been beating up Jim, and Richter's snapped James's legs on the ring posts or damaged targeted his leg. Jim can't jump properly. When he does, he slips off the ropes and botches some of his moves. Marcus is a submission expert. He's been trying to make me tap out by doing arm damage to me. And as I'm a power guy, unfortunately, what that means is while I haven't tapped out, if I lift Marcus up to do like a jackknife or something, I may accidentally let go or lose my footing or something because I can't lift him up because my limb's damaged in a most logical way. So you have to play the match smart.
Yeah, I approve
That
of
makes
that because
sense.
like with the AI thing, I could totally see like, say if it's CM Punk and he's facing Mole, he would know, okay, power guy, less defense. I'm just gonna go. I need to beat him down, and because he's going to be able to beat the crap out of me if he gets a hold of me. I just need to go straight for my finisher, the earliest chance I get. Whereas against someone like me, against Marcus Shadow, okay, he's a technical guy. He's got higher defense. He's gonna reverse the stuff. I'm not just gonna go flat out for my finisher. I'm gonna hold on to it and use it tactically. Whereas against Jim, who jumps around, if he knows, okay, this character's gonna jump around a lot, I'm not going to use my finisher at all. I'm just going to wait for him to jump and then catch him into the GTS.
Yep.
Jump around, jump,
So the AI
jump.
would
Sorry.
basically choose what it's going to do based on who it's facing. I think that'd be kind of awesome.
Yep. And like I've mentioned before, now I also with the realistic things like that. I want better weapons, better weapon hitting people
I want more
and stuff.
weapons. They really scaled back on the weapons, and I disagree with that.
Yeah, so scale back on weapons, but I want better weapon hitting. For example,
Yeah.
let's say I'm against you two in a triple threat match. James goes to do his lion salt thing like Jericho does, and I'm on the outside. If I've got a chair, I should do like they do in real life. I should be able to jump up and smack him in the face as he goes onto the ropes.
Mm-hmm.
Or because and you could have some of them for power people like the power person like that you used to have might be able to do the guillotine, whereas James should have the ability to place weapons on us when we're in like the turnbuckle and do coast to coast into a trash can.
Yeah. What I was going to say is they should have it weighted. No, not weighted, but weight dependent. So, like, for instance, say, Mole, if you grab a chair, you'll have the physical strength to just walk around and smack us in the face with a chair. Whereas if Jim picks up the chair being a lightweight, and especially if he's trying to go against, say, you, he can't necessarily do that. It's just going to kind of bounce off. Like when, like, say, Rey Mysterio tries to hit Big Show with the chair, he just kind of turns around and is like, what the hell was that?
Yep, and I
Then that
realize how
basically, that forces, like, Jim to say, have to use the grapples like, say, a Rob Van Dam, where he'll toss you the chair and then Van Dam at you. He's going to have to use it in an innovative way to actually deal damage.
Okay, can I also say for the record, I agree with all this. I think it all sounds awesome, but I would honestly be content with just getting the the AI up to the IQ level of a standard adult before we start trying to make it smarter.
no, this is also for the player.
Oh, fair enough.
Like something I'd like as well with the same things with the weapon. How about if Marcus can do some weird and innovative stuff with the weapons that we can't do?
Well, yeah, that'd be
Like
going
like
into,
like he can do like Alberto's done before now, where he does like the cross arm breaker through a ladder.
Yeah, I was gonna say that would go into more of what I was talking about of having some stat dependent stuff. Because, like, say with my character, because I pretty much max out my submission. Well, not quite, but my submission is sufficiently high enough that all of a sudden I would get submission weapon grapples where I could do submission moves with weapons, which is something you wouldn't be able to do because your submission is crap.
Yep.
I agree with that. I think that'd be awesome.
Yeah, and at the same time we get some extra power stuff like an ability that they took out besides the weapon taunt. I want that back, but I'll just gloss over that. But
Yes.
like for example, if like say me and Richter, we're the power guys, aren't we, Rick?
Yep.
Don't you think we should be able to open up the chair in the ring to then do power bombs onto the folded out chair like they used to, so we can
That
ding
would
the
be
chair down?
awesome.
That
Yeah.
should be our ability.
I think they should bring back the ability to open up chairs, period, And then based on your stats and stuff, you can do different things. Like with the power, you'd be able to do the power bomb. With Jim, because his speed's all the way up and he's lightweight, he should be able to run up and like jump off the chair, Sabu style.
Yeah.
And then again, with me,
That'd
I'd
be
be able
awesome.
to do like the submissions through them.
Which is kind of what they did this year with the ladder thing, but they didn't tell
Yeah.
anyone they'd done it. Now that's why it was annoying. But
Pretty much.
like, if like one of the features I'd like with the weighted stuff as well would be like James can climb up a ladder faster or whatever. But if me and Victor are the power guys and Jim's on the ladder, and we've seen this in real life, we should be able to lift the ladder with him on top and just throw into the outside.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like Big Show's done it before now, where he's lifted the ladder with the guy on it and then thrown it towards the ropes.
You know, one thing I've always wanted in the game ever since Eddie Guerrero do it. Rest in peace, Eddie. I want to be able to. I want to be able to pin someone with the ladder, like what he did to Rey Mysterio. That made me go, "Holy crap! Why didn't I ever think of doing that?" That's
I'd like
awesome.
stuff
Ray's
like
kind of screwed now.
Yeah, or bury him underneath weapons. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Or the heavyweight should also be able to do is in the ladder matches. You should be able to do the thing where you set the ladder up and literally put it on top of your opponent and then climb up it so they can't push it off and they can't stop you.
That's what I just said. Pin him with the ladder.
And I just thought of an ability.
No, I didn't mean. I thought you meant literally like 1, 2, 3 pin him with the ladder.
Yeah, I just thought something for Rick. I just thought of something for Jim.
What's that?
Mm-hmm.
We do the corner move and we break a ladder. James can lift up the broken ladder and do the Kofi thing and make stilts and bounce around to try.
There you
go.
That'd be awesome.
It wouldn't work as well, but it'd just be hilarious to see him try.
That would be hilarious.
Or again, like the other thing what they did with that, like the Jericho Big Show thing. Of say me and Jim are in a team and the ladder's broke. Jim gets on it and I do the Big Show thing and I lift it up to try and help him get to it.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
But yeah, I think that does cover it for gameplay. I think, unless anyone else has anything like
No.
OMGs you want to add. Like
Nope.
I wanted to add the choke slam for the ring. But yeah,
Yeah, they need more OMGs.
Yeah.
Counter OMG like you could do.
They need
When
weapon
Bam Bam
specific
got put through the
OMGs.
ring.
What's
they
that?
do need weapon specific OMGs.
They need the weapon specific OMGs and the chair specific OMG for not necessarily a light heavyweight, but for a heavyweight or super heavyweight needs to be the chair guillotine. They need to bring that back.
Yeah,
I mentioned that.
What were you saying, Richter?
Oh, the OMG of like when Taz put Bam Bam through the ring.
Yeah.
Like a counter OMG or something.
There you go.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. There's a few OMGs they could do. Like I mentioned to Marcus, it should be an OMG for submission people to do a figure 4 against the ring ropes.
That'd be cool.
Or just something like that. Or for light heavyweights, like they can have, there's loads of OMGs they could do for light heavyweights.
There needs to be an OMG where if somebody goes up to the top rope to do a move, that the person on the ground can, while they're in midair, do some kind of thing to distract them so they land the move wrong and it botches the move. like for example, if Brock Lesnar went up, you could taunt to distract him, and then when you did a shooting star press, he landed on his.
Yeah, I also wanted the ability to pick your OMGs, but I also wanted some more superstar specific ones. Like I mentioned to Marcus, if you're in a one-on-one match as one of the Bellas and you've built up 3 specials to instantly end the match, you should be able to crawl under the ring. The other one comes out and can do does a small package to instantly win.
There you go.
Oh,
So
you
you
know
get
what
to
they
win
need to
magic.
do? Oh, you know what they need to do? They should introduce something. I guess I'll call I don't know, some sort of descriptor, like I don't know what you would call it, but what I would call it supernatural would be one of them. I don't know what you call that particular attributes. It would call like an attribute of some sort, an attribute descriptor, and it would be supernatural because then you could have Undertaker specific stuff. Because I was thinking for an OMG moment specifically for the Undertaker, if you're about to lose and you have like a finisher stored up, you could press triangle to and it would say OMG and you'd hit it and the lights would go out and you'd get Undertaker's supernatural powers. It would go out and come back up and Taker would be standing behind him.
Oh my god, you just gave me a brilliant idea.
What's that?
Which is kind of MISC, which we were going into at the same time because OMGs, we've counted it as MISC. We're on MISC right now, but how about gimmick options?
Yes.
And the gimmick options can be tied to some stuff like OMGs and stuff like, for example, if James's gimmick is the ultimate underdog, his OMG can be the comeback, or he can get the comeback that we can't get. Or if you got the supernatural gimmick, you can get what you mentioned, or you can get like the big brawler ones. You can have like an OMG knockout punch style thing, or just some, you know what I mean, tie some more stuff to gimmicks. That'll let you pick your gimmick for your CAW out of a list. Like my gimmick could probably be like the Big Show brawler type guy.
That'd be awesome because if you choose like
That
say
would be
supernatural
really cool.
instead of regular getting up, you'd get Undertaker set up or something like that. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, which instead of having to do all these specific stats, they can do one stat and then one extra stat of gimmick. Which, if you're supernatural, that's your gimmick. If your gimmick is the submission machine, it'll boost your submission and give you some extra stuff. If your gimmick is the brawler, it gives you some extra punches. If your gimmick's cocky guy, it'll give you some new taunt locations and stuff.
That'd
I
be
think
kind of
gimmicks
awesome.
would be actually kind of cool.
That would be interesting.
Yeah, they should have the default ones, but they should also allow you to have like gimmick parts. You can take different things so you can customize your own gimmick if you wanted to.
Yeah,
I think
that would work.
I think it'd be kind of unfair to have these cool like gimmick specific stuff, but you could only get it if you'd use a preset. I'd like because that takes the customization out of it. I think I'd like to be able to fully customize it so you can have stuff without having to get that preset gimmick.
I could kind of agree with that, but I was thinking more like, ironically, kind of like TEW, where they have gimmicks for wrestlers and stuff. Every wrestler falls under at least one type of gimmick.
Right, but you could customize your gimmick or you could use a preset gimmick, I think. I think it'd be a great create a wrestler option.
It would, that'd be awesome, but
Create a gimmick.
trying to get back into what we said before,
Mhm.
you tie the gimmicks into that as well, so it's also tied into like let's say it's the preset gimmicks or whatever, or the build your own one if you choose what parts from each one or whatever, but the gimmicks can also be tied to universe, so the game pushes you like that character should be pushed.
Yep, I agree. Create a gimmick. You'd get basic or advanced, just like every other create thing.
Yeah.
I could agree with that. I'd
Stuff
love to.
that-
That'd be awesome. Ukes,
Yeah.
make it happen. That's something that needs to
Yeah.
happen.
Create a gimmick, it would work.
Yeah.
Or gimmick itself, it'd be awesome. Like you could take like the biker thing, like Undertaker things. You get like more brawlers, or you get the bike at ringside if you get your entrance to use it and stuff. It'd be cool. How about you, Rick? What would you use for a gimmick?
He'd use the hardcore icon gimmick.
Yeah, that or like or like not necessarily a brawling one, but like like slamming them, breaking them through crap one.
Or you'd use the pimp gimmick.
I hate to say this because I don't know if Rick would be offended by that, but I know what gimmick I'd give you. BFG.
Wow.
So you'd be like face Big Show, where he's like the more fun baby face big guy. So like you could you can get moments where you're posing, like if you press a button you could get the extra thing like the ECW like extra taunt to help you or whatever, but you can taunt and like lift up a kid or something like that on your shoulder and taunt with a kid or something and put it back down because you're the BFG. I like that. I don't know if I was offensive or not because you're saying wow, but I was just thinking you're the stay-at-home dad. It's friendly.
Oh god, you know one gimmick they would put in the game, right? If they did that, they'd have to put Superman in there.
I think I'd probably, like I said, I think with the Superman gimmick, that'd probably just fall under hero, like Hulk Hogan, Austin, and Cena.
Yeah.
It would be It would be horrible if you picked that as an option, and it built you as like unstoppable force.
Well, no, they would have Superman and they would have superhero. They'd be two different gimmicks because the superhero gimmick I see being more like the Hurricane.
No, I didn't say superhero. I said hero.
Oh, I suppose.
Like Hulk Hogan was the American hero of his generation. Austin was the redneck hero that did the same stuff as Cena now. Cena's now the babyface hero that likes the kids.
See, that would, and also the gimmick thing would also work well with tying into what I wanted with the whole heel face change thing, because then when I do the heel change, I'll actually come out with a different gimmick. That'd be friggin' awesome.
That'd be kind of cool.
It would be. That'd be cool. Like you can have a gimmick swap thing as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like for example, you could go from, say, an Asian wrecking ball destructive thing to Richter's dance partner, as if someone could actually do that. That'd just be a stupid gimmick change, though.
Ha, Banta.
But that definitely, like, gimmick change and stuff like that, and gimmicks and stuff would work as well. Like in Universe mode with like how right now they have the various versions of Undertaker. Biker Taker should be pushed different to Lord of Darkness Undertaker.
Yeah. Oh my God, you realize what you'd have to do, right? You'd have to create local talent and give them the gimmick of local talent.
I would. I would have to do that. Or give them the gimmick of Brooklyn Brawler. Because they won't say it's Jobber, but they'll heavily imply it.
But that gimmick doesn't exist anymore because he's actually won a match.
He has. But it's and local talent won. 1, 2, 3 kid.
There you go.
But it's still, like I said, it's not still hilarious. But Misk, but yeah, we want Misk stuff besides just gimmick.
Yeah.
But I like the gimmick idea. Does anyone else have any Misk stuff?
Allow us to choose more than one music selection, custom music selection for the jukebox.
I'm
Although
getting
I've
pretty
not
sick of-
tested that, but I was
I am-
told you could only choose one.
You can. I only got the choice of one, so it was hard. But I chose Taylor Swift. Back to December.
Nice. Also, how about bringing back the old musics that people like to use, or having some actual good musics besides the existing theme songs that people can use in the game, like the Evolution.
Yeah, if they've got the rights to it, use it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
really.
WWE should give us full reign over their entire music library.
I have an idea that you guys may hate.
What's that?
It'll take up a lot of hard drive room, but you'd have to delete it every year if you went if based on that, because you wouldn't play in that year's game. But
What's that?
I want to see them do a Pokemon style thing with the wrestling game.
What do you mean?
I kind of. Do you know where I'm going with that, Jim?
I think so. I believe it's more along the lines of there would be like a ridiculous amount of people available, and you could pick and choose which ones you want to go after and get.
Kind of. It was basically similar to what they did with Legend of WrestleMania. I'm giving credit where credit's due. That was the one that kind of gave me the idea, but for a while. But instead of these 30 years of WrestleMania that screws out people like the Usos and stuff like who should be on the game, how about we have one game of modern people, one game around WrestleMania of old school stuff, which can make you relive classic feuds and do all the stuff they're doing now, with the new one being Universe mode. But if you have both, you install them to your hard drive, and it adds the people from one to the other, and next year you do it again with 2 different games.
That'd be interesting.
So, like, let's say you got the old school one. Like, let's say they can always change the era with the old school one. Like, let's say you got, because I know all you people like it, which I don't. But let's say you got the Attitude Era one. You get to play through a load of the Attitude Era stuff on the Attitude Era game. It's only Attitude Era people, so they can concentrate on making them all good, making them all official, making them all great. But if you have both games, it locks on them, and now you can play as the Attitude Era people in the WWE Universe game and stuff, or you can play as the new people in like the Attitude Era mode.
Or instead of requiring you to have both games, what they could do is like say you have the 2 versions of the games, and let's say if we have the now generation, the current one, right? Under the DLC for that, they could have the Legends add-on, which is like a 1 gig add-on that basically takes all the characters from that other game and applies it to that game. So you don't have to have the full install of the other game. You just have what you need to be able to use those characters in your current game, and you pay like $10 for it or something.
Yeah, the reason I was thinking of the Pokemon style one, they would make shitloads of money off it. I would buy both games. Hell, I bought like All Stars. I bought Legends of WrestleMania. I would buy it.
They would. Well, I mean, you could do it that way too. I'm just saying.
And
But the reason Pokemon works though that way is because they're portable games. It's mobile gaming. Whereas with these, you're talking about a full-on like console or PC game. It makes more sense to have the DLC option.
Yeah. See what I would say I was imagined is having let's say you release the game, one version of the game, and you release the game, and let's say the game has on it and preloaded with it 20 of the most popular superstars, maybe present, past, and future, just 20 people that are preloaded. Then all the other superstars, past, present, attitude, have 50, 60, 70 guys, however many there are, even 100, however many guys, just have them all available on DLC. And so, okay, with purchase of the game, you get the 20 guys that come with it, and you get a voucher that lets you download, let's say, 15 more guys of your choice offline, any 15 you want. And once you downloaded your 15 guys, that gives you 35 people in the game to play with, and if you want more, they're $1 a pop. And that way you can choose which people you want in your game. You can get the people you want, and then if you want to get more, it gives them the option to have more what they want. And then if you want any more, you can just buy just the ones you want rather than having to buy packs that have a bunch of people you're never gonna fucking use.
True. I'll admit I do tend to use the people I get in the packs.
Fair enough.
I'm one of those people where if I get a fighting game, I do like every character.
Yeah.
But I was thinking the Pokemon route because one, it would generate a load of more money for the franchise, and two, the games can feel different. The Attitude Era game can be more aggressive. It can be more like the Attitude Era thing of pleasing everyone with the mindless table matches more and shit like that.
So
The modern one can be more like it is now, and then you can get the superstars from either in there, but having both, it would benefit you because you get more story and stuff like that. So they would make more money off it that way, and everything seems to benefit.
So here's a question then: if you have both games installed, would you get the blend of both games in both games? In other words, not only would you get superstars, would you also get match types and mechanics and stuff from the other game in the other game?
No.
Mm-hmm.
It would be playing as the Legends in modern day in the modern day stuff, or playing as now in the Attitude Era stuff or the classic stuff, depending on what the game was. Sort of like I mentioned, like Legends of WrestleMania did, where if you owned the SmackDown game that was out that year, you got to import the old roster, you got to import the old the current superstars into there, but the game played the same way.
That's actually a really good idea. Something they really should do is try to make the games, at least the games that are on the same system, compatible with each other, so you could just import your creative superstars from the previous year. And beyond that, if you have to, if you got a lot of people that are still in the company, basically all you have to do is have the ability to, read the data, re-import those superstars, and just adjust their attires and maybe some motions to correspond to the new thing, rather than rebuilding a superstar from the ground up, unless they look like crap and you're actually going to mocap them and make them look good. So at the very least, to creative people, that way, and if there's parts that are there that aren't in the new game, it can just say, okay, we imported your creative superstar. We've removed all parts that are not compatible with this game, and then you can just go through and replace the parts that you're missing on your guy with something new.
See, I will say last time we discussed that, I thought it was a bad idea. However, they haven't changed the creator wrestler feature for fucking the last 2 years or 3 years.
Yeah.
We haven't changed anything now. So it's like, why couldn't we do that if they haven't changed anything?
What the fuck?
But yeah, with your
Save us a lot of
Pokemon idea,
effort.
Mole, I like the idea. I think you should for the have the DLC option, and for the DLC options, you have your Superstar Pack, which gives you all the moves and entrances, musics, and basically the superstars. You should also have, in my opinion, well, I guess I'd call it like the match pack, where it gives you all the different match types and the mechanics for those match types as the DLC. But if you have the actual game, you don't have to have the DLC, and it gives you everything with that, both of those, if you have it installed. I think that'd be kind of cool. So basically, I could take the now one, because it would make more sense if, for instance, if I have current WWE game without all the attitude, big, extreme rules matches, all that crap, and I have this influx of Attitude Era stars, past stars. Like I have like The Rock coming in, and Austin, and the Hardy Boys and whatnot coming in, right? You have your hardcore people, Tommy Dreamer, let's say. It wouldn't make sense for me to have them all come in and not have access to some of the like the hardcore matches stuff, because it would make more sense if they're coming in like, yeah, you young punks today, you can't hang with me in a hardcore match. I dare you to hang with me in a hardcore match. They would totally do that. Without having a hardcore match in the game, you wouldn't be able to do that. So I think because then that would also allow you to expand the amount of match types you have in the game as well, which I think would be useful to the game. And like you said, they'd make a lot of money because you'd either buy a second game or you'd spend your money on the download packs, the DLC packs.
Yeah, what I was thinking with what I was thinking with the Pokemon thing, the reason I said two different games with the stuff like that is I was thinking they can barely make one game a year as it is. We have two different developers working on two different series, which can influence each other. Like, let's say the one doing the Attitude Era mode has suddenly perfected how hardcore matchups play and being able to go backstage like you used to be able to and stuff like that. The one working on the new one could be like, oh, I like that. The next year they could implement that, and at the same time, the other developer working on the other game could look at the current one and be like, wait, you guys just added this creative thing. I like that. Like this year they added the OMGs. I like that. We're going to add OMGs into ours. And then they can influence each other without having to be dependent on working with each other for the gameplay and shit. They can just do their own thing. It's just there's a code in there so they can import models of characters.
See, I don't know if I like that because with Pokemon, the reason why Pokemon works so well is because it's the same fucking game with different Pokemon.
Yeah,
That's all it is.
I was using Pokemon as an example of 2 games a year.
I know, I
But
understand that.
what
I'm
I
just
was on
saying.
about is, for example, look back when we had Day of Reckoning, SmackDown, and Raw. Each one of those, because they were worked on different people, each one of those had some sort of redeeming huge quality when we had No Mercy and SmackDown. Each one had some sort of huge redeeming quality because a team got to put their entire effort into one game. So like Raw, you got the create an entrance video, the Royal Rumble thing I mentioned. Day of Reckoning had the being able to split up moves and some of the other stuff. SmackDown had more of the arcadey stuff which is still in there now. But nowadays it seems like they're taking bits from the past games. This wouldn't have been possible if it just been one series. I don't know if that's making sense or not, or if that sounds silly.
Yes and no, because wasn't Day of Reckoning made by THQ and Ukes?
No, it was published by THQ, and I think it was maybe made by Ukes, but they mentioned it was a different team working on it to the team that worked on SmackDown. They did a different
Fair
job
enough.
with it.
Fair enough.
It's sort of like Call of Duty is still published by Activision, but there's two different developers working on one game a year. They do
In
the same thing, but two at once.
in that case, I'd have to say I don't think your idea would work
Fair
Be-
enough.
because you'd basically have. Hang on, give me one moment. Hey, sorry about that. I had to plug in my headset. Anyway, yeah, I don't think your idea would work, Mole, because you'd basically have all these Attitude Era superstars who were designed to be used with specific mechanics being put into a game that doesn't have those mechanics. It wouldn't work.
No,
The only
I
way importing the superstars would work is if it was basically the same game. That's why Pokemon works, because it's the same game with different Pokemon, but the Pokemon are all designed to work with that one game. That's why you can have 3 games with 3 different sets of Pokemon and still have it work when they move across worlds.
no, I meant it would copy moves, let's say, and they can have like both teams helping each other with moves and character models and stuff, but each doing the thing. Sort of like Little Big Planet. You could move the Little Big Planet costumes and all the stuff that was designed for Little Big Planet into Little Big Planet karting, made by someone completely different, and it still functioned in that world because they just used the models. They didn't bother with the mechanics, the platforming, or the karting. It could work again with just like you importing the wrestlers' models and their moves. The mechanics of how the match plays is insignificant. What mattered was the move set and the characters. And then when they import them differently, they just help add something to make each one. It's like if one has like the gimmick option, let's say, then okay, when they import them over, you then just go through each one and change their gimmicks. That was my idea, but
It's
I
a
don't know.
it's a good idea. I just with how complicated these games are, I don't think it would work because you'd have to have basically whoever does the basic game engine would have to work on both games. You won't get around that because the engine has to be because the character models and the way the characters look and work are directly tied to that game engine. So if you try to import like say if I tried to import I don't know. I'm trying to think of a good uh, thing. Something that's like 2 different games. Like if I tried to import, like say Batman from Injustice into DCUO, it wouldn't work because it's two completely different platforms. You couldn't just import the character model because the model is dependent on the game engine. That
Yeah, but
again, that goes
they're
back to
two
why
different.
Pokemon works, because Pokemon, again, as I've said before, is the exact same game engine and all. So literally, you could take one character from Pokemon Silver, put it into Pokemon Gold. There would be no difference because it's the same game.
Yeah, but you were talking about importing a character from a fighting game into an MMO. What I was talking about is, like I mentioned, Legends of WrestleMania did it. You got to import the people from SmackDown into that game, and the game itself had completely different controls and completely different mechanics to SmackDown,
Which
and
is
it
fine,
worked perfectly.
but the base engine is probably the same. If you go to the core of it, the engine did different things, but the base engine, what controls the graphics and the look of the model stuff, it's the same because they were able to actually import that character into there. It will look different, but it's the same thing. What's driving it is the same. What you're talking about is taking two games that behave completely differently, that the core of it is completely different, and that won't work. The core of the game has to be the same, or you can't import the models, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm saying they've already got something in place right now for the models and stuff like that. It's just giving two developers the same thing, so they'd be working off this and just doing completely different things with it. Like I mentioned with Legends of WrestleMania, it looked different to the game. It played different to the other game. In fact, it wasn't even the same mechanics because when you punched people or you did something, it reacted completely differently to how it did in the SmackDown series. But
Right.
they worked. So I was saying, do that again if that makes sense, but both ways instead of just that last time Legends of WrestleMania they did it with the superstars into that one because they managed to get maybe because of I don't know how they did it, but they managed to do it. But you couldn't import the Legends to SmackDown. You could only import SmackDown people to there. But if I wanted it so you could do both.
Yeah, and I don't know if that'd be possible, but it's a good, like, again, it's a good idea. And if they could actually get it to work, it'd be awesome. I'd
It would
approve
be.
of it.
It would be. It's like I mentioned in the past. I miss when they used to have a different series on each console. I miss that.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
But Jim and Richter have been really quiet. What?
I don't. I think we're kind of good on Myth. This is going on, I think, over 2 hours at this point, so we may want to wrap it up.
I know. That's why we said we're going to split it up.
But you can't. They were such a great team.
Yeah, but was there anything else you wanted, Jim Orbeck?
Nothing specific that I can think of off the top of my head. Just I will say better variety of weapons. That's the one thing that would make me happy. Just having more than just the half a dozen different weapons they have in the game. Because I have over in my case of old PS1 games, I have WWF Warzone.
Yeah.
I remember you put that game in and go in there, and you look around the ring, and there's like 1980s TVs and like freaking like frying pans and like the most random shit you can ever think of, just scattered around the ring when you do a hardcore match, and it was just awesome because
Oh, God,
everything
that
you
game.
hit somebody with made the exact same sound.
Oh God, that game. That game was horrible. That
In
when it was followed by
retrospect, yes, it was
yeah.
bad, but it was fun at the time, I thought.
I didn't like it much at the time like that. Then Attitude Era, and I even owned for when they did their own ECW version with the same engine when they did an ECW one. Well, that did have an Inferno match first.
It did.
Honest,
Fucking horrible Inferno match. The
honestly, the
ECW
one
game.
thing. Sorry. Mm-hmm.
No, he's done. All right.
But honestly, the one thing that needs to happen, the one thing I'd love to happen, it's the one thing that will never, ever, ever fucking happen, unfortunately, and it'd be the one thing that would make this game franchise completely soar, and that is WWE needs to be fucking hands off when it comes to development cycle. You know, they give the go ahead of what goes in the game and what doesn't, but fuck off the development cycle, WWE. You don't know your ass from a hole in the ground in that respect. Take advantage of DLC. Don't fucking handicap the game by saying you have a year to make the game. No, fuck that. Have a healthy development cycle and then support it with DLC and maybe have one new game every like 4 or 5 years. That's what DLC is for.
Yep, that is what DLC's for. But sadly, that's not how sports games work. They have to bring out a new sports
Nope.
game every year for every type of sport.
Yep. Pretty much. I like to say, they want to make the game instantly better. There's one thing they can very easily do to make it better. It's called fire Ukes and hire a competent developer.
I would say Yux is a competent developer.
Yeah.
When they put their full effort into stuff, because they've made stuff in the past that's been good.
Yeah, Ukes is a good developer, but only when they're allowed to develop. Which WWE is not allowing them to develop because they're like, yeah, 1 year, good luck. And it's like, no. Especially if with this series getting stagnant, you need to give your developer, especially at this point in time, you need to give them 3 or 4 years to develop a brand new game from the ground up. You can still keep putting out the same schlock year after year after year, but take the core team, say, develop a new game from the ground up. Because at this point, you don't need a team developing the next year's game. You just keep putting out the same shit over and over again because that's what you're doing anyway.
Yep, which is pretty bad because we're on we're on PS3 right now until next week or two, when PS4 comes out. The core engine of this game is still a PS1 game.
Mm-hmm.
Because the PS1 one got evolved into a PS2 one slightly, and that got slowly evolved into the PS3 one. When PS4 comes out, it's really going to be fucking outdated if you're playing if you're playing these games, if they still look the same, if they act the same on a PS4, that's going to be fucking way fucking bad.
And that's
No,
what's
I-
going to happen if
and
WWE
really-
doesn't give them development time to develop a new engine.
But that's the problem is, unfortunately, if in order to keep current, yes, you can use DLC, but there's only so much DLC people are going to be willing to pay for when things in the WWE change literally overnight. Unfortunately, it's impossible to keep up with that, and as a result, it becomes really a pain in the ass without releasing that new game every year to have that new content. And yes, a lot of it's the same, but in order to have all that new same content, working with the new game and working with the new features and everything else, it takes them the year to do that. You take away their team to go build some new game, they're not going to be able to put that schlock out year after year. Is the problem? Is that unfortunately their team is dedicated to putting that schlock out year after year. They don't have people to set aside to build some kind of a new engine or develop something new over a couple years. They don't have the people or the resources.
And what were you saying, Rick?
I was just as a joke, I was gonna say I want the same engine next year because with the always on recorder, all these funny glitches that we only hear stories about, that's gonna be running in the background for our review next year.
Yeah.
And I just can't wait to go on YouTube and just type 2K15 glitches, and it's like we have 20,000 results, and I'm like, yes,
Yes.
Ah.
entertain me.
Although I do feel something bad's going to happen with the wrestling game.
What's
Mhm.
that?
Apparently, on both Xbox One and PS4, developers can turn that off if they choose to, and only choose which parts people can record.
Oh, what? When did that happen?
They mentioned that that was announced, that was said a while back, but it was like
Never
skirted
heard
under
it.
the rug. Yeah,
Never heard
it was
it.
one of the things
I'll
people.
have to look into it, see if that's there, but
It was said by an official representative of Sony
Never
on
heard it.
IGN.
never heard it though.
Yeah, they mentioned it on IGN. But
Sure.
apparently, it got completely covered under the rug though, because everyone thinks it's cool, and at the same time they announced that, it was also the same time other stuff's been going on with the games. But it was a
They
case
so
of
did it.
apparently developers have the right to say what you can and can't share and record, which means if it's something they don't want people to do, they can turn it off. However, I will say the game developer people, when they mentioned it, they sold it in the most brilliant way. Because they were selling it as, because we don't want you to stream an entire story-based game and have people know all the plot and story of it before they buy the game themselves, because that ruined it for them. I'm like, oh, I agree, no spoilers, that's kind of helpful. And then I thought, wait a minute, this is going to be used for evil. I don't know if the rest of you thought that.
You
Everything is
can't.
used
You
for
can't
evil.
upload cutscenes.
You can't upload any copyrighted theme music or custom videos.
Yep. That's also going to screw Let's Players too, who want the cutscenes in there because they're playing through the game.
Well, if Let's Players are any good worth their money, they own a high definition capture device anyway.
True. But what were you thinking, Will?
That, what I just said.
Well, that it could be used for evil?
Yeah, it could be used for evil.
It could.
Oh, I will say, apparently, It's only on PS4.
What is?
I just looked that up. Apparently, it's only on PS4. The ability to the developers only have the ability to choose. Apparently, on the Xbox One, it's not.
So everyone's gonna get an X-Bone, right?
Like I said,
Over a PS Death? Probably not.
I've considered buying an X. I've considered buying the Xbox.
Yeah, but does Xbox even have the direct YouTube uploadability that the PS4 is gonna have?
Yes.
Fair enough. I knew they could both record. I didn't know if Xbox was gonna have the direct YouTube uploadability.
Ah.
But anyway, I think we've exhausted our discussion topic.
I would tend to agree. Hand me one. Take us home.
All right, so this was another WXR where we discussed all the things that we want to see in wrestling games. Thank you very much, and we will see you next week.
Bye, everybody.